The medical breakthrough discovered in our region that could help save thousands of lives.
Scientists in Cambridge have devised a simple and cheap urine test, which they say can accurately identify men at greater risk of developing prostate cancer.
Although the research is still in its early stages, it's hoped it'll eventually lead to early diagnosis and more effective treatment. Emma Baker reports.
Mel Lacey knows all about prostate cancer. He's had it and survived it. Now he's setting up a campaign to teach other men how to spot the symptoms.
I believe that if men talked more about their health conditions, symptoms and their private parts that they're so reluctant to do when our women folk will go to the doctors and discuss anything. We need to take a leaf out of their books and be similar, because if we use that advancement of talking about ourselves a bit more, that would save a huge amount of lives. I have no doubt at all about that.
Mel's now fully recovered, but he knows he's one of the lucky ones. Prostate cancer is the most common cancer in men in the UK. One man dies from it every hour. But as there are often few symptoms, it's not always easy to diagnose. At the moment, doctors rely on a blood test which can be unreliable. But now scientists in Cambridge think they may have made an important breakthrough. And this is it, a simple urine test that's proven to be cheaper than the current blood test and twice as effective.
We measure the level of a protein called MSMB in the urine, and basically if the levels are low, then it means a patient is likely to have prostate cancer. If the levels are high, then it means the patient is likely not to have prostate cancer. It could be a real breakthrough, and of course the huge bonus about this test is that it's a urine-based test, so it's very much accessible to men who, just like everybody else, don't like to have needles.
Prostate cancer is found in the gland that's part of the male reproductive system. It sits just beneath the bladder. As with all cancers, the disease is caused when the growth of cells multiply in an uncontrolled way. In most cases, it's a slow-growing cancer. It can go undiagnosed for some time because of a lack of symptoms. 36,000 men are diagnosed with it every year. 10,000 die from the disease. If this new test is proven to work, it could pave the way for the first national screening programme for prostate cancer, similar to that of breast cancer. But one leading charity says we should approach these initial findings with caution.
It's just in its early stages, and it's just showing that in men known to have prostate cancer, you can see they have lower levels compared to men who are known not to have prostate cancer. We don't know if this test works on men who don't know whether or not they've got the disease, and whether or not it's going to be accurate at determining their risk or diagnosing prostate cancer.
Scientists are now carrying out larger trials to support their initial findings. If successful, it could prevent more men suffering like Mel in the future. Emma Baker, Anglia News, Cambridge.
And if you have any questions or concerns about prostate cancer, you can go to our website where we've got more information on where to get help. Now, it's the small Norfolk seaside resort that's been pitted against the might of Britain's biggest supermarket.
14 years on, and Tesco has finally got permission to build a store in Sheringham, a town split by the decision.
It's just the latest battle as market towns across our region try to balance protecting traditional high street shops and letting in the big supermarket chains. Well, Natalie Gray is in Sheringham for us tonight. Natalie, Tesco wouldn't give up, would they?
That's right. For 14 years, Sheringham said no to the mighty Tesco. The supermarket giant kept coming back with new and amended plans. It's a story that will resonate around our region. The debate lasted 5 hours and there were some impassioned pleas. One councillor said, "Let's not be Jonah and be swallowed by the Tesco whale." Another councillor said, "I beseech you, don't turn our magical cliff-top town into a Tesco clone." But in the end, after a nail-biting decision, Tesco got its way. Hugs and cheers for the winners. Hugs and tears for the losers.
And I'm just really upset because I feel like I'm going to have to leave now and not stay.
14 years of fighting and Tesco gets its way. It couldn't have been closer, 7 fors and 7 against. The chairman had the casting vote and he went with Tesco. 14 years you've been fighting. Has it been worth it?
Well, it's been a long time. It's important to get the plans right, and we've got that. We've worked with the council, we've responded to their comments, and I think that's why we've been supported today, because we've got plans that they want to see, that will bring shoppers back, it will create jobs, and give Sheringham the investment and convenience that it's wanted.
The new store will go here once the fire station and community centre have been demolished and rebuilt elsewhere. Today's vote completely reverses a decision in March when the planning committee turned down Tesco and backed a rival bid instead. The Greenhouse Community Project would have included a Waitrose and food academy. Campaigners for that plan are upset by the U-turn.
I'm absolutely shocked. I'm horrified. It's the death of Sheringham. It's outrageous.
But there's delight from the pro-Tesco camp.
I'm feeling relieved, I'm feeling happy, and I'm just waiting to use it. I just want to go there.
Its slogan may be "Every little helps," but there's nothing little about Tesco. The supermarket giant makes a profit of £6,000 every minute. The company takes £1 of every £3 spent on groceries in the UK. It has nearly 2,000 stores in Britain and it trades from 14 countries worldwide. Are you intent on world domination?
Well, this is about Sheringham. It's a popular store, and that's why we're building it. We go where customers want us, and I think this is an example of how if you do things right by customers, you offer them the convenience, the value, then hopefully they'll come through our doors, and they'll continue to do that in North Norfolk, and we'll continue to propose stores that are popular with people in their communities.
At Desborough in Northamptonshire today, a similar debate is taking place. Here, local people are being asked to choose between rival plans from Sainsbury and Tesco to build a store in the town. At Hadley in Suffolk, a Tesco proposal to build a new store in Suffolk Pink has met celebrity opposition in the shape of Griff Rhys-Jones. And in Cambridge, the supermarket won its planning battle to build a store on Mill Road, despite a 5,000-strong petition against it. It's been a row that's raged for more than a decade, but Tesco has finally got its claws into Sheringham, though it'll be 2012 before the doors open. Natalie Gray, Anglia News.
Well, earlier we spoke to Philip Eden, the Vice Chair of Action for Market Towns, an organisation based in Bury St Edmunds, and asked him for his reaction to the Sheringham decision.
I think it was inevitable because of the way the effort that the supermarkets had made to actually refine their bids for the planning application, and the vote that the members of the public actually did in favour of having a supermarket, really.
Yes, Tesco would argue that this store and others like it in the pipeline would bring much-needed jobs to towns like Sheringham.
Yes, they do bring a lot of new jobs, but there is the converse to that, which is that over a period of time, some of the small trade has actually reduced the number of employees, so the net gain is not always the total.
Aren't these stores more sympathetic to their surroundings than we're actually giving them credit for? I mean, the Suffolk Pink supermarket planned for Hadley, for example.
Yes. I think the planning departments in the various councils now expect a lot more of supermarkets when they're designing the building and making it look in keeping with the surroundings. That perhaps wasn't the case a few years ago, but it's been increasingly better.
And in Sheringham and places like Desborough in Northamptonshire, it seems people want a supermarket. The controversy is about who's going to run it.
Yeah, Tesco's are a particularly dominant operator of retail premises, and I think it's a bit of a love-hate relationship that people actually have with them. But I think that in the case of Sheringham, which hasn't got a major player in terms of a supermarket, it may well keep people in Sheringham that currently might be going to, say, Fakenham or Cromer or even Norwich to do their shopping.
OK, Philip Eden, thank you very much for joining us, but we will leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you.
A Suffolk couple whose son was killed in a road rage attack says it's outrageous his killer has been given a fresh chance to appeal his murder conviction.
Kenneth Noy was jailed for life in 2000 for stabbing 21-year-old Stephen Cameron.
His conviction has now been referred to the Court of Appeal because of questions over the pathologist's evidence. But Stephen's parents say Noy should die in prison, as Ellie Price reports.
Even after 14 years, Tony and Ken Cameron find it hard to think about their son's death. So the news his killer has been granted a chance to appeal his murder conviction made difficult viewing.
I think it's totally outrageous. How can he have another appeal? He's had loads of appeals, like loads. At the end of the day, he left Stephen dying in the side of the road and cleared off to Spain. Totally denied any involvement in Stephen's murder, anything to do with Stephen's case at all, until he come back to Kent, see the evidence they had against him, then he held his hands up. I don't think he should be having another appeal, not at all.
It doesn't get easier. Every day I think of Stephen and it never goes away. And this just brings it back. It's like having a knife stuck in you all the time. It opens the wound.
Stephen was stabbed during an argument on a motorway slipway in 1996, while his 17-year-old fiancée Danielle Cable looked on. The killing sparked an international hunt for Noy, who was eventually extradited from Spain in 1998. These images show him on the day he was first taken back into custody. He denied murder but was sentenced to life in 2000. His lawyer says the evidence the court heard from the pathologist's post-mortem was flawed.
Assuming these findings and the prosecution pathologist's interpretation of them to be accepted as accurate by the jury at the time of Mr. Noy's original trial, they undoubtedly would have damaged my client's credibility in front of the jury and his case that he acted throughout in self-defence.
I know that the case has been referred to the Court of Appeal because of Dr. Mike Heath. I can't make comment about what Dr. Heath may or may not have done on other cases, but in this particular case there was a second post-mortem, and as far as I'm aware the pathologist at the second post-mortem agreed with the findings of Dr. Heath.
For Stephen's parents, the prospect of a new case and Noy being freed is almost too much to bear.
I honestly don't know how I would cope with that. I really don't. I want him to die in prison. He took Stephen away from us and from Danielle, his brother, his sisters. He doesn't deserve to come out. He really doesn't. He's an evil man.
Ellie Price, Anglia News.